setting. Sorry. So if you need closed captions, you can enable them in your settings as well. They are available. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about engaging the younger generation of volunteers. And we've got our lovely, actually one of our volunteer users, Matt, today presenting. And yeah, we're really excited to have you. First, a little bit, these lunch and learns are organised for you by Voluntero. So me and Josie, we both work for Voluntero, and we've got a lovely set of exciting things coming up in the next few months. So if you want any information about the platform or you want to chat with anyone about Voluntero, please get in contact. Can you see my screen? Yeah, join to the next one. Please drop us a message and we can have a chat with you. We've got a really exciting surveys feature coming up and customization. And as we're going to be talking about the younger generation today, App First is huge for the younger generation to get kind of involved with volunteering. So yeah, please let us know if you want to have a chat about any of this. But yeah, enough from us. We're going to just move on to Matt, who's got a lovely presentation prepared for you today. If you've got any questions for him or for any of us or for the discussion later on, please feel free to drop them in the chat feature. Me and Josie will be keeping an eye on that today. So yeah, Matt, over to you. I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah. Here we go.
Everyone can see that okay? Seeing thumbs up and nods, that's good.
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending where you are. It's great to be here to come and to share, as I think some people have already said, such a huge topic. I'm trying not to take over the whole hour. It should hopefully be shorter than that and give people time to discuss and to ask questions and things, which would be really great to hear other people's voices as well. So you can see the title there, as it's already been mentioned. My name is Matt Parker, and I am the Bay Volunteers manager up in Cloudy, Lancaster. Just a quick bit about me, really. So I trained as a primary school teacher and did that for 8.5 years, particularly with year 6, the SATS year. And then I moved over, a big jump really, to managing Bay Volunteers and kind of taking it from something that was starting a kind of fledgling seed and something that had begun, and to try and sustain that and to grow that and develop that as a community-based service as well. So I do that 4 days a week, and I lead a church plant on the other day of the week, paid as well. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah, and I live in sunny, not never, Lancaster, with my wife and my 2 girls. So yeah, there's a little bit about me. So what is Bay Volunteers? A really quick bit on that, really. And so Bay Volunteers is a community-based service, and we work to support vulnerable adults across the Lancaster district. So it's like a council boundary, basically. You can Google it if you really want to. And what we see as is local people supporting other local people in a variety of different ways across this area really that we facilitate, and we obviously manage that and take responsibility for that. And then I guess we empower volunteers to go and support people locally to them. Because even though Lancaster district isn't a huge place, if you go from one end to the other, it would be a good 15 or so miles. So you probably don't want to travel that far to support someone. You want to support people locally to yourself. So originally we're like a support line in COVID. It was like a Hope Church Lancaster, which is what Bay Volunteers is under. We're kind of like, what can we do to help people in need? Okay, people need the shopping because they can't come out. They need the medications. They're getting lonely. They need a phone call. And essentially, somebody built a system who does coding for a living, where we could kind of take in referrals on by volunteers and do that with a very happy system, but an amazing for someone to do overnight. And just started to help, really. So it's all kind of come about, not in an organised way. It was all chaotic, really, and just do what we can. And then I guess, like I said, my job in that was to kind of sustain and to grow that, develop that, and make it something that could work for now and into the future, because we saw there was a real need to continue that and a growing need as well. It just happens that COVID found that need. And I guess part of that, which is what we're going to link onto today, really was, we saw a real need, really, in some ways, and a gap for young people to get involved, particularly in practical ways, to support people, vulnerable adults within this, and lots of advantages to that as well, again, which I'll come on to. So that was, I guess, part of our sustaining, or part of our development as an organisation. We'd never taken on anyone who was under 18 before. And so I guess that's why we're kind of here. And that was one of a big thing I did at the start of my role just over a couple of years ago. Just kind of give you a kind of scope of what we do. This is the list of things that we, well, not me, but our volunteers do on a regular basis, particularly around the top one, which you would probably call befriending. Just some people don't like that word because it implies that you have to become their friend when you don't need to. But the top one, because of I guess, an epidemic of loneliness, really, is a really big one for us. And so a lot of our stuff is one-to-one support. But I'll explain a little bit later how, we don't have our young people going on their own. We have to put things in place for that. But they're still able to do a lot of this, really. The only thing we don't let our young people do, obviously, is drive people around and to enter people's private homes. And they have to work in pairs or threes. So that's just one way that we safeguard. But otherwise, we let our young people, so 16, 17-year-olds in sixth forms, do anything else on this list, really, which is really great that we're able to offer those things to them. So I guess the first big question really is why? Why should I bother engaging there? And I like to call this the now, not just next generation. Because I think for me, I've heard, maybe this is me personally, I've certainly heard far too much of the next generation as if like they've got nothing to give now. And I know that's not the case, but I think that's sometimes how it can maybe come across. Or to me, it's just the way I've heard it talked about. And I think it's really important that we see them as people that could do a lot now, a heck of a lot now, and have great value and do great good now, not just in the future, which we hope they will do. As well. And just to say before I carry on, I will share this PowerPoint along with the recording, so hopefully you don't need to take too many notes. If you're wanting to do that, I'll give you all this. So why engage them? A few reasons, really. I don't know how many young people you know or what you've seen of young people around where you live, but these are some of the things I've certainly seen and we've certainly seen, really, is that, they are really dedicated. When they get involved in something they want to do, they'll really commit, really get into it. They'll really get behind a cause. So if you give them something and they're really clear on what you are doing, what your organisation is trying to do, and it's something that really ticks their box and you've sold it in the right way, they're going to jump on board with that and go, yeah, I want to work for that cause, and then dedicate themselves to it. And probably will come because of that passion. Nothing there, young people really kind of a real passion for something that they I guess, a real care about, personal desire to help with. We found them very caring, wanting to just help. I don't know if that's helped by COVID as well, but certainly a very caring generation as well, and a real desire to learn as well, and to grow in what they're able to do, and just gain those different life skills, experiences, looking to grow that, and particularly like the cross-generational links we find is so amazing. Even if the young people aren't necessarily doing a befriending mission, they're still going to drop off someone's shopping and have a bit of a chat, or someone's prescription or whatever it is. And I think it's really great to hear the young people talk about, oh, we've really learned so much about X person's life and what that kind of career is like and the life they've lived. And they've really benefited from hearing that wisdom and experience. And then the older people, it's generally all the people we support, not all, but majority are saying, just feeling, I guess, a bit more youthful or a bit more invigorated by chatting to these young people, and I've really enjoyed hearing what it's like for them now. Because a lot of our clients are those who are housebound, either partially or fully, so they're not really getting out into the real world too much. So it's interesting for them to hear from the young people. So both ways, it is really, we see as being really beneficial. I guess, for us, we just thought as well, we don't want to be left behind. Yes, they are, I know I said I don't like using that word, but they are the next generation, but they are as well as the now generation. And we need to be continuously looking at how we get new volunteers on board, particularly younger ones as well. And hopefully, I think someone said it just in when we were just chatting before about, you're hoping that they'll stay on and continue with you in whatever organisation that is, and really get behind the cause for a long time. I guess the one negative that might put people off sometimes, but I don't think it needs to be negative, can be that they take a bit more time to maybe mentor, to train up. They're not going to take the initiative as much, maybe, and things like this. But actually, I found yes, it is a bit more time, but actually they've enabled us to help and support so many more people and see their development and the impact it's actually made on our clients. To me, that makes it worthwhile, and you just factor that time in a way that you need to do, whether it's you doing it as employees or key team members, or whether that's it might be pairing up with more experienced volunteers within your organisation. So I think they're really lots of positives, really, for me, or we see anyway, for engaging the younger generation. So how do you engage the younger generation? I won't say I've got all the answers, but try to give some ideas and things. I did say I put a lot of stuff on here for you. I hope this doesn't annoy you that there's so many words on the screen. Lots of things. I mean, one of the big ones really is social media. You might love it, you might hate it, you might wish you spent a lot less time on it. I don't know, but social media is a massive one for engaging the younger generation, particularly social medias that they are on mainly, which will be Instagram and even more so TikTok, which I get might be unfamiliar to some of you, but many of you will know about them even if you're not on them. They are the places that young people are even going on TikTok to search for things these days rather than Googling as well. So they're going on there a heck of a lot. So if you can get someone to help you get on there, really important. And I think it's a great place then to big up your young people on there as well and really shout about them. And then other young people will see that and think, oh yeah, well, they really appreciate their younger volunteers and their younger generation. That sounds like somewhere I want to go and be a part of and volunteer with as well. I think for another few quick things in that, really, like you're praising them, they need a bit more just kind of, oh, well done, you're doing a great job, or yes, you did that right, really well done, than maybe some adults do, although it depends on the young person, depends on the adult. Try and empower them, really, and give them trust, give them responsibility is really important. I think often young people aren't always given that, and I think it might need to be a bit more supported at the start, but I think it's possible to give that and can have a real big impact on, therefore, what they're able to do for you and for your organisation and the people that you're supporting. One thing I think is really important as well is like this kind of like choice and flexibility for them. I know we have quite a list of things that our younger volunteers can do. So, if you can, make sure there's maybe more than just one role that they're able to do. Don't restrict them. Maybe ask if they've got any ideas about a kind of role or something they could add as well. Might be a really great way to engage someone who's really engaged in your cause, maybe doesn't see many roles in your organisation where they can do much. That'd be really great. As I said, the cross-generational thing might be a pull for some of them as well. If you can give any sort of rewards or perks, even if it's a bit of merchandise or whether it's some freebies you can give that isn't paying them, obviously, because it's volunteering. We have something called Tempo Time Credits, which is like a UK-wide thing that we get through Lancashire County Council, and for every hour volunteering, we can give not just our young people, but all our volunteers like a credit, and they can use like gyms or pools or different social things and for some freebies as well. So anything you can give them as a bit of a perk, I think it's good. I think there's the obvious kind of pulls, particularly for young people, if we're talking like 16, 17, or thinking about universities, it can add something to their application, it can offer to be a reference for them. They might be doing D.A.V. I understand through Googling, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's in America, that they can actually do this in America as well, as like an international D.A.V., which I looked up as well, so at Duke of Edinburgh. So they might need something to go on there for their volunteering hours. CVs as well, something different, something to add to that to grow their skills. So lots of reasons for them to be pulled in, and you'd hope they wouldn't just come in for those things. They might do though. You'd hope they wouldn't just come in for those things and they'd come in for the other reasons, but that might be a way to engage them initially before they hopefully get passionate about your cause. I think one thing with young people for us has been connecting with educational providers and organisations, so schools, university, local colleges has been really key, because they can maybe get the messages across and get the audience and the time with them. And I'll speak a bit more about education providers a bit later on as well. And I think everything needs to be really clear, quick, simple with your communication, your processes. You know, we use QR codes, we use Volunteero app. You kind of speak in their language, as it were, and you just want to get them going as soon as possible. Get them active ASAP. Don't make it a long process. You'll lose them. Attention spans aren't great of anyone, but particularly young people. So you've got to get them in and get them in as fast as you're able to. Obviously, making sure they've gone through all the right trainings or inductions and things like that. I mean, for us, the app is a big thing. And for what I'm about to say, I am not paid by Volunteero. I've not been asked to say this, but we use Volunteero, and you know, for us, particularly for our young people, but it does span different generations as well. There are so many things that have made it so much easier to engage them. You know, with regards to particularly things like using chat groups or chat one-to-one with volunteers rather than emails. Young people do not answer emails. I don't think they read them sometimes, so I might answer them. And so chat has been a really great way. It's all in one place, in one app, and where they report, where they can get all the help they need, where they find all the information. It's been so useful for them. You know, and the apps, they can see it, because a lot of our young people they're not going to drive, obviously, so they can see how close things are to them, which Volunteer are able to do as well. They can flag things up, communicate with it. It's really helped us to confidently give the young people something they can easily engage in well. Other generations would probably be happy with emailing, not bothered as much about an app. They'd have to use it, but not as bothered. Young people really want something quick and easy in their hand. Everything's on an app for them these days, as it is for a lot of people. I guess give them what they want and they'll engage in some ways. So I get that everyone has like a volunteer management system. But yeah, for us, that has been a big plus for us. So I guess one big thing we found is like connecting with organisations that can give you access to young people. How do you do that? That could be a bit of a minefield. How do I get in with a school or a sixth form or a college or a uni? Lots of things again for you. Try and go in person if you can. Try and get to speak to the right person. Schools and colleges, universities are huge places. Really hard to get hold of people. What I've tended to do is, particularly for schools, but sometimes unis, because you don't always get email addresses. So you might get like the admin email address or like the hello or welcome email address. I'll go find the member of staff and then use what I know email addresses look like. So if you've got the end part after the at sign, then it's like, okay, it's usually your first, so mine will be like m.parker and then the organisation's at email address, or mparker, or their first name and second name. You can probably guess them very easily. If you've got one, you can get the rest of them, because you'll usually find a staff list on website. So, you know, I went out to seek who is the head of sixth form, and then, okay, what's their name, and just guessed, and then when it starts bouncing back, you've got it. It only takes a couple of tries. Same with universities as well. You can kind of guess and work out email addresses, because getting the right person can be annoyingly very hard to do. That's why in person's better, but that's not always possible, particularly with big universities. I think, again, there's a lot of things that are similar here, but, you know, flexibility and choice, make things clear, particularly for the school, make it easy for the school. If you need a risk assessment, you need to sort things out, have things in place, you do it, and make sure that they it's easy for them to get involved and for their pupils to get involved, and just sell it to them. You know, this is going to really make your school look good because your pupils are doing X, Y, and Z. I know one of ours even put it on their like prospectus thing for their sixth form, which is fantastic. We didn't ask them to do that. It's a bit of a plug for them, and they plug us, so it's brilliant. Once something's worked, maybe it is like a university or a particular school, maybe that you've gone in once. If it's worked, trial it out, work it out, and then try and get a regular slot that next year. Maybe it's like September, October, get in early, and then try and see if you can book that in before they break up for summer to get in again in the next year, to get the next year 12s or next lot of young people. And give them feedback as well. You know, this is your pupils are doing really well. This is what they're doing. This is I don't know how many hours they've been doing this, how many people they're supporting. I think is really important as well. And again, just when you're presenting to the young people, use their language again, QR codes. There's probably, if you took loads of flyers in, they probably won't take them. They'll probably want to go look you up themselves on social media, website, things like that. And I think they're moving on to universities, very similar. Really, I guess the only difference here maybe is universities, we obviously are huge places, and there's huge areas of different subject areas and departments, and it's a nightmare. So maybe think about what you look at your course, which areas of the university are there likely to be more an openness or a link to getting some of their students volunteering. So like for us, with a lot of befriending, we went to the psychology department. We did have a link with the SU, the student union, and that's a really good place to start. But student unions, they're not always as well staffed as they'd like to be. It can be hard to get hold of them and get the link with them. If you can get that, that's amazing. If you can, think about what subject area, what kind of students might be more interested in your specific volunteering or cause. If it's environmental, you know, you're going to go into those kind of degrees in that department. And like for us, it was psychology, and try again, look for that kind of specific staff member or staff members, and see if you can get invited to. Maybe they might have like for us, there's like a science fair, science and technology fair that we got invited to with other businesses. We were able to get into that because we're in the psychology department, because we got in with the SU eventually. We go to volunteer fairs that they have, which they have like people going for internships and other stuff as well, but they have volunteer stuff there as well. It's just trying to get yourself in the right place, and you might have to try different bits of communication in different ways, in different means to get there. But they're just some little, I guess, tricks and tricks. And again, just try and get in regular with them. Try to get in on a regular slot, a regular place, whether it's like a yearly volunteer fair or something like that, to get yourself known. And students and young people love giveaways. If you've got anything with your branding on, give them that, something that's got your socials on, then hopefully they will look you up as well. And again, just make it clear, simple, and easy for them. That's what they want, young people. They don't want to be faffing around. They don't want to make it. They don't want it hard. It needs to be appealing to them. One of those things that's appealing to them is speed, and things that are easy. Couple last few things, and then I'll shut up. I guess this. I know this was Mushka's slide, so and the next one is as well. One thing that she's spoken about she did like a presentation about Gen Z. Was if you look at what did Blockbuster and what did Netflix do when there was this kind of transitional point. Blockbuster kind of battered on with the kind of DVDs and rent them and let's stay with that. Netflix said, no, we need to start investing in putting our films online and our subscriptions online, and you know the rest is history, as they say. So I guess the key message really is look at the way things are going. You see some of the things on there that Mushka put. We need to keep up, or you're going to lose the potential of volunteers, and some fantastic volunteers probably as well. So try to get ahead of that or get on board with that. I know it can be hard sometimes, but even things like, you know, I get social media really can be annoying and can be a minefield. If you can get a young person on board who is really for your cause, give them the role. You know, get them doing all your socials for you. Like I was saying earlier, find a role that is really fits them. And can really help you where you're a bit weaker or just don't have the time for it, because it does take time as well. Another thing really is looking at how you advertise roles. This is an example again that Mushka gave, the same role but given totally differently. The left side is kind of a full, comprehensive one. Young people probably stop before the bullet points maybe, or maybe just get onto them and skim it. On the right is a kind of summary. Got it started as a question. Don't use the word volunteer. I know that doesn't always help using the word volunteer. I know that's one of Mushka's things. Give them an option to kind of have a chat and informally rather than apply in this formal way. One thing, if you're not sure how to make things really good and short, is a thing called ChatGPT, which uses AI, artificial intelligence. It might sound a bit scary. It's really not. Really useful. Very quickly, I will just show you an example I did earlier. That sounds like Blue Peter. Here's one I did earlier. if I can find my screen and reshare that one. That's the problem when you've got too many windows open. There we go. So I just went on Google and found a job description for a Primark retail assistant. And so I copied and pasted it in, and I just gave ChatGPT an instruction. I just said, shorten this job advert to no more than 100 words. So I put all this in. This was just copied from there. I think it's quite long, lots of detail in there. And then this is what it came out with. I know it put it all in bullet points, but it is under 100 words. It shortened everything. It's got the same things there. And then you can try this out for yourself. I'll put a link in the PowerPoint. And then next one I said, I took one of the paragraphs and said, summarize this in 2 sentences for me, the job description, and then you go. And you can obviously check these, tweak these, edit them. It just shows you what AI can be really useful for these kind of things. If you're thinking, how do I put what we've got as this volunteer role into a short, snappier way, you can instruct it what to do. And there's a whole host of things you can do in here. I won't go into it now, but you can spend ages rewording something, trying to cut it down. But it's actually such a fantastic tool that may be scary to some, but it's actually really useful, a really good thing. And I think with your roles as well, you've got to think about what do you want to put as your role title. I think volunteer retail shop assistant maybe isn't the most appealing title. Or it might not come. You need to think about what your title is. It that they are an ambassador rather than a volunteer. They're an ambassador. They're an assistant to this role. Be specific, but it might be that you're more vague and kind of opened up to, like I said, what do you want to bring to us? We're looking to move forward as an organisation. What can you offer us? How can you help us move forward? How can you help us? It might be linked to social media. It might be linked to recruiting volunteers. Lots of fresh ideas that young people can offer. I guess this final slide really is just, if you're not on a volunteer management system, you can't afford that or you haven't got that, there are loads of freebies that you can do to make things better. And again, these are all links in here. I won't go through them because I know I'm over the 20 minutes I said I'd be. So things like Google Forms, rather than giving a Word doc, fill in this Word application, Google Forms, these are all free, by the way. It's free. So go on there, you can make a form, they can fill it out online, you get a response sent to your email. Again, just speaking young people's language. Calendly is another thing Mushroom absolutely loves, and I know a lot of people use that. Again, it's free. You put in when you're available. When people are looking when to meet with you, they can just pick and choose when they can do, and you get a booking through saying so and so is booked to have a meeting with you at X time on X day. Instagram and TikTok, like I said, get on those socials if you can. If you don't know how, get someone who knows how. Whether that's someone in your family who just uses them already, or whether that you can recruit yourself a young volunteer, or maybe you've got a younger volunteer is on them, get them involved in that. Canva is a free website or app where you can make, I guess, social media posts. Well, you can make anything really on there. You make banners, leaflets, all sorts. But again, it's free and it's really, really simple to use. And it's got a whole stock of like images and different fonts and all sorts of things that you can use to create nice posts to put online that are really easy to do. And again, it's free. Don't use Times New Roman. That's one of my big things. Don't use that as a font. Young people hate it. I'll speak for them. And QR codes as well. And I've put a link on the QR codes one there to a free. There's loads of free places you can make QR codes. Instead of giving people a website, put a QR code. If you do when we do volunteer fairs, we put a QR code up. Young people generally don't want a leaflet. Some might take them. They're probably not going to look at them. They're going to look at a QR code that takes them to your website or to your social media or to maybe the Google form to sign up. Use QR codes. They'll just take a picture and they'll look at it in their own time, their own leisure. It's a really good thing to do. Or if you do have printed publicity, put a QR code on that as well for them to take away with them. And yeah, just like I said earlier, giveaways, get your name out. If you see other social causes online that are really popular and you're doing something similar, link yourself to that if you can using social media. And probably one big one I'd say, if you use WhatsApp groups, that's fine. But I'd say if you haven't used them already or you're looking for something, try not to use them. It can be a GDPR nightmare. and can be quite difficult to try and find different solutions to that. And like I said, in volunteer, there's like chat, which is great. And you find things like that, which equally doesn't end up in tons of endless emails either. So anyway, I hope some of those things on here are things, even if you don't have a volunteer management software or system, that you can start to try and use just to engage with younger people, maybe just start that bridge between becoming more and more relevant and more engaging, and kind of getting with the appealing to the younger people. And I think you'll find it's not just younger people as well. And there's, I'm 32 and I would engage with all these things. And I think people older than me would as well. We said earlier, everyone's using apps these days. COVID kind of forced people to do that more as well. So don't be a blockbuster, I guess would be much good thing. Be a Netflix and kind of move forward in that and just see what you can do and what your organisation can do with these amazing young people that are out there that want to just be a part of your cause, but maybe just don't know how and don't feel invited into it. And I get change can be scary, but it can really be a great impact to your organisation. I think that's it. I think I've absolutely rattled through that. So I will send the PowerPoint to Mushka, and I'm sure she'll send it out with the recording. So you're more than welcome to hopefully remind you of some of the things I've chatted about. If anyone has any direct questions or comments for myself or about how we've done things, I'm happy to take those now. If not, I've put a couple of questions up there, which I think would be good for other people to speak and hear each other's comments, and I'll let Josie or Jen. I think Jen's going to police that.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Matt. That was really, really useful, and such interesting and impactful points that you made there about engaging kind of as you said, the now generation, not the next generation. That's really, really useful.
Yeah, I could have listened to your talk all day, Matt. So it was you could have carried on for me.
Don't encourage me.
We'll do a second session. A few questions actually in the just going back to the ones that was asked at the start. Was it from?
I've got them here. I've got the ones at the start if you want to do the further down one. So Elizabeth was asked a question first around befriending and transport recruitment. So Elizabeth, if you'd be happy to share a little bit more information about that question.
So I'll expand on that. So Matt, from what I understand, kind of your where you're working in your charity, you do befriending, and you have transport and everything else. So I'm really interested in number one, the fact of what you said about befriending and what that term means to people, either volunteers or anything else, because we're kind of going through the stage with our befriending that I'm like, but what does that mean to people? Do people understand it? And also whether kind of in your transport kind of, how's your recruitment like with that? Like your befriending, your transport, are you having issues with it? What's your age range, as we're talking about young volunteers coming in? What's your kind of age range, your cut-offs for those two roles as they are in your situation?
I'll try and answer it all, and if I've forgotten something, just prompt me, Elizabeth. So I guess going to befriending, it was just comments really, particularly from volunteers it's interesting, they were already volunteers with us, but they just mentioned how they didn't like that term, and they wondered if it might be something off-putting to others, thinking that if I do that, I have to kind of become their friends, and how will I then keep that professional and keep that boundary? And so it just came out of that really, and so we decided to call them listening walks, visits and calls. And I think it helps to focus on that and say, look, your main role here is to listen. You might get someone who doesn't talk much, and that's a bit different. But in the main, it's people that you are there to listen to because they don't have anyone else really they're able to speak to often or much. And it's just giving them your time of day, showing you care. And a lot of the way we do that is actually by listening, not talking at them. So it kind of came.
I've kind of been thinking community companion. What do you think about that? No, it's the same thing as befriender, I suppose, isn't it?
It's a bit softer. It's along the same lines, but it is softer. So it's subjective. It'd be good if you've got volunteers already who do it. It'd be good to just poll them and just ask. What do you think of this? Or give them a couple of options. Which one, would you define your role, or you think is best? I think with regards to that with our young people, so we don't let them do visits because mostly that's going in someone's house if they're housebound. Unless it's in the summer months, it's a short term one, they can go and sit in a garden or something like that. We'd let them do that. Again, they're still in pairs and threes though.
Is that kind of 18 plus for your kind of
16, 17?
Okay.
So we engage 16, 17-year-olds at sixth forms, colleges. So as long as they're in a pair or three within the and they don't enter the person's home, that is within the risk assessment that we wrote with the schools, and then we replicated with other schools. If they're 18 or above and they've finished sixth form or college, so we ask that those 16, 17-year-olds then become 18 and then finish year 13 or college. If they want to continue with us, if they are 18 and they are officially not part of school anymore, so some schools class it as the last exam, some might say like the start of July, and we get parents' permission and we have like a letter that kind of hands that over and says, look, they're going to become effectively an adult volunteer, they can go in homes now, they can work on their own, are you happy for that? And then, they can carry on. A lot don't because they're about to go to uni, but we do get some that might stay on. So that's kind of it. So, but a lot of them do walks, some of them will do calls, befriending. And we did have probably until last year, not many young people doing that. And I think some of that is COVID, and some of that is that they spend a lot of time like this on the phone and aren't used to talking to people, particularly someone new. But I think we've just seen this year a bit of a change, and maybe those effects of COVID have worn off a bit. They've become a bit better socially, more confident, and they've desired, because they choose what they do. So they've chosen to do more of the befriending ones rather than the practical ones all the time, which has been really encouraging. And that's something that's only just changed this last September. On the befriending, so we do get quite a lot of recruits. And we did do some videos recently on it on socials. We got our local community voluntary solutions place to help us do them. And we have done some of our own in the past because we recognise that, people don't know what it is or what it's not. And so I think get information out about that, even if it's like getting a couple of volunteers just to say what they do, what it involves and why they enjoy it. I think it's just helpful to break any sort of misinformation that people have about it. If you can get those, I know it can be hard to get even quotes if you can't in a picture online. We do get quite a lot that sign up for that, but you're always going to have so much need for that. You're never going to meet it all, but so we do have to keep up with that one and do a bit more pushing on that than other things, because it does. In some ways, you need a certain kind of person who's really up for that and into that. And it's not everyone's cup of tea. On the transport one, it was something we kind of did near the start. We did a lot of the getting people to their vaccinations, and then we lost a lot of those because then people came off furlough and weren't just looking for a legal way to get out. So we do have it now. It's more of a on the down low. So we do have to put a stricter criteria on that because we only have probably we have about 100. I think we have 125 volunteers currently. 50 of those are young people, which I mentioned earlier. So 16, 17-year-olds, 18 at full-time education. And we don't let them drive, obviously, people around. So probably 20 that would pick something up more regularly if there was a patient transport, 30 that are on the list, as it were. We generally aren't recruiting for that as such, but it's an option that people can choose from when they sign up, but it wouldn't be something we'd plug out partly because we don't get a referral for it. And we have to be really precise on that. And it's not our main thing really we see is really helping those that are lonely now, have been isolated in terms of loneliness and anxiety and low mental, low mood and struggling with their mental health. So I guess it's just not our focus, but we're still happy to offer it on a careful basis.
I think thank you so much for the Matt. I've literally asked a question later on that kind of talks about kind of percentage of young people and everything else. You've answered that, so move on to someone else. But yeah, thank you so much appreciated.
No worries.
Thanks, Matt. We've got a question from Amanda, which Amanda, feel free to chime in if you want to give any more context to this, who's asking, how do you recommend training staff to work with young volunteers, especially if they maybe find working with young people to be a little bit intimidating? How are you going to convince the staff team that they are worth that investment? I'm sure that's a barrier people come up against.
Yeah, I think it's going back to some of those reasons at the start of why to engage young people. I'd go back to that, a lot of those things really. And I think be honest, it will take a bit more time. I think if you're setting something up new, but I guess it's thinking, okay, what is it that we as an organisation maybe we are weak at, or we don't have as much of this in area? Can actually young people fill a gap? Because you probably find it's easier to recruit them maybe in some ways than others if you do some of those things we've talked about. And think, if we want to support more people, if we want to grow, if we want to become more relevant, we're going to need those voices in the room. And I think you can put things in place as a staff or as trustees or whatever to say, okay, I think you can't just go, okay, let's get some young people in. You need to think, why do we want young people? What can they offer? It might not be every specific role down to the detail, but just, why are we engaging with them? What is it that they're going to offer us? What can we offer them? It needs to work both ways, and just think about how you're gonna sell that. Like it says clearly to your staff as well, and as well as to the young people or maybe the organisations that they are part of, whether that's schools or universities, as well. I think you've got to be. In some ways, it is a trial and error, and you've got to always start small, maybe, and just. You could even just have like a bit of a focus group or a conversation with some young people that you know of, might be even like some of your family, or people, staff, family, and just kind of get their thoughts and input on it. Just hear some young people and say, look, we do this. Do you see any gaps here, or what do you think people your age would be able to offer us or to input on? And maybe just get that, and that might guide some conversation in terms of, well, how do we engage that more widely? And I think it is just really, it's hard to do, isn't it? But I think you've really got to get to the point where they can see the value of them and really see that they have so much to give. You have to look at, Greta Thunberg was a great example, wasn't it? Like a young person who can really speak up. And I know not everyone's a Greta Thunberg, but actually these young people really care about things. They're not just going through life, going through education and wanting to get a job. Actually, a lot of these young people really care about things, really care about others, really do want to help, and I think we do them a disservice sometimes, or the media sometimes does, to not acknowledge that. And I think maybe the scared of doing that, or not, they kind of not maybe thinking, oh, should I do that? Should we engage with young people? I'm not sure about it. Is maybe actually because of a false representation that they've had in the media, or they've not had a true representation of what they could offer. I think just you got to just test the water and be brave, and just show them what they can give, but just start with who you know, and what you know, and try something like that. Maybe I hope that's helpful. Sorry.
Definitely, yeah, definitely get the point of kind of the picture that the media is kind of saying about the young people, but they really actually care about like the causes and like kind of stepping behind that cause, supporting and volunteering in like something they're really passionate about, and kind of just putting that in what they're. Sorry.
So I was just going to chip in, like, we've got a lot of our volunteers that, if they're young people, they're in school. Some of them don't live in Lancaster; they travel into the schools because they're nice grammar schools or whatever. So they're not around in the holidays. But those that actually are around, they don't have to volunteer in the holidays, but they choose to still do it, and they want to do it because they genuinely care about Mr. Smith or whatever getting his food, or they really care about going to see him because they know he's lonely or she's lonely or whoever it is. And when you see that, you're like, oh, wow, they really are, like, they're not just in it for the CV. They really actually have a care, are behind the cause, behind and dedicated to what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of all of these different reasons for volunteering. And I think this also kind of fits in with the next question that I saw. Sorry, my thing keeps moving. It just kind of, Heather is asking a question more about kind of, do you think like the younger generation prefers roles or flexibility, or do they more benefit of like a structured approach?
Oh, good question. I would say, I think certainly people we've engaged with, really like flexibility within a structure.
Yeah.
So they like having choice. I think if we just said, look, this is the one thing we do, that's all we can offer you, you'd get the ones that want to do it, but you won't get maybe nowhere near as many people. And actually, you know, with the choice, we might get someone that they just come in thinking, right, I'm just going to go and get someone shopping, but then they'll move on to befriending someone later, even though they thought they'd never do that as they go in confidence and things. So I think you've got to try and you've got to have it controlled in some ways. You know, it's got to have that kind of structure around it. I think that's really important. And because I think certainly, this is just a personal thing maybe, but I think young people these days, some of mental health difficulties comes because young people don't have as many boundaries and structure, not in a really strict way, but just and therefore not feeling safe because they just don't know where these boundaries are, and they just feel on their own a bit maybe more. And I think actually giving those boundaries and areas to work within, but flexibility within them is really useful because they do want choice, but they need to know that that's within X area for them.
Definitely, yeah. I think when I used to work with younger volunteers as well, that's really useful, and kind of having that autonomy over your own diary. To be honest, for myself as well, like I'm not sure what I'm doing next week or next weekend. So like it's kind of just having that flexibility within your diary, but then also having that commitment at the same time, so you're still committing like the same amount of time or the same amount of hours as well, so that you know what to expect from them as well. But yeah, let me see. Josie, did you see any more questions that you saw coming up?
I don't think so. Did we answer the one from Heather? They're all blue.
Yeah, that's the one you just did.
Yeah, we've just done that one, yes. And then
Yeah, from Connie as well, saying that students also help with
yes.
diversity as an organisation, a great angle to push with your senior leaders. Yeah, that's definitely a really good point on the topic as well.
And yeah, had mentioned to Connie in the chat, who had spoken a little bit about working with West London University. And Connie, no pressure, but if you would be happy to share that experience, we'd love to hear from you. But yeah.
Thank you so much. So yeah, as mentioned, the University of West London is in Ealing in London, and we kind of help charities in terms of pairing them up with students, and also helping support charities kind of a bit similar to this in terms of how you explore student recruitment. So we're often kind of guiding charities on that. So it's really, really great to kind of join this and hear lots of Matt's thoughts, and definitely agree with everything that's been said, really. And I think, you know, the future of volunteering is, you know, engaging younger people, and that is really something that we kind of need to push to senior leaders and anybody that is apprehensive in terms of student recruitment. And they are very passionate, and you know, I think from what I found, I was quite surprised with in terms of working with students is some of them do want regular volunteering. You know, lots of the times you might think, oh, they might just want to just do the summer. But a lot of the times when I meet with them, I'm like, oh, so how often do you want to do it? And they're like, yeah, once a week, you know, twice a week. You know, so they are, you know, they are very, very keen. I think that lots of the barriers are that they don't really know where to start. And I think colleges and universities are your gateway. So if you do have other universities that are near you, you know, utilize that support, because they want to work with charities and organizations, and it's about kind of utilizing the support that's around you. But I'm more than welcome to reach out to the University of West London, even if you're not in London, you just want any tips or anything like that on how to get started, and we're more than happy to do that.
That's great, Connie. It's really good to hear that as well. And I think you're right about the wanting to do it all the time. So our volunteers, they do want to do it every single week. They want to know that it's booked in. So they create their own structure. It's flexible, not just what they do, but when they do it. And they fit that in their diary because they are very busy with their education and stuff, but they want to do it and they want to fit it in every week if possible. They like their own routine. But it's flexible because they choose it.
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a fine balance between emphasizing that, yes, you want the volunteers to come once every few weeks, you know, once every 2 weeks or once a week, but also say, you know, if something does come up, you know, you can communicate with us in a timely manner. And if you can't come that week, you don't have to worry about that. So I think it's just bridging that gap of knowledge around some students who may not have ever volunteered before and they don't really know how it works. So there is a little bit of effort to put in terms of boosting that knowledge and saying, like, often say about interviews with students for volunteering, and they get so scared and it's not really a formal interview. Like Matt said, it could be just an informal chat and it's a really good experience for them, but they might get a bit nervous or a bit scared about the experience. So it's really kind of, building those bonds and kind of supporting them through that journey.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think I've never used the word interview because I think they would have
If
that.
you
So I'd say like,
they're like, oh no,
I'd say
no.
like, I'd say like say like informal induction or an informal catch up, because I catch up with volunteers every so often. So they don't feel pressured, because I think young people would come in like that more than maybe an adult.
Yeah, like as soon as you mention anything like that, they're like, oh my God, no. And I'm like, no, it'll be more of an informal chat. Obviously, of course, go in prepared to kind of talk about yourself, but, organizations just want to know that you're keen to get stuck in, you're enthusiastic. Like that's all this conversation is going to be. So it's more, I think it's kind of small changes like that. Like if you're used to saying volunteering to you, if you go to a student fair and you say, oh, come in for an informal chat, that's going to get them on board more. So it's only about making very small changes. Like you don't have to overhaul your whole volunteering program to attract students. It's just minor changes.
Yes, totally agree. I think, the wording behind that is so important, and kind of just knowing what to expect from your volunteers as well. All really useful, and thank you for sharing that, both of you. Let me have a look. I don't think there's any more questions. Josie's has dropped in a few links in the chat. One of them is of our volunteer management professionals Facebook group, so please feel free to join that. We update that with all our upcoming webinars as well. And we also have a lunch and learn survey going around as well. We would love if you could fill that in for us and just get a bit of feedback on these sessions and what you are kind of wanting from these sessions. A few of you have already filled this in, which is great. And one of the feedback was that you wanted a kind of lunch and learn volunteer managers network meeting. So we are hosting that in August. So that will be kind of sort of a presentation. It will be more like the discussion we had in the second half of this session. And I think we'll do some breakout rooms as well, so we can really dive into kind of the specific topics that people want to talk about with other volunteer managers. And then let me have a quick look. We also, in July, we have another lunch and learn with Chris Wade, and he's going to be talking about creating communities of action. So he's really focusing on the engagement and the impact your volunteers could have within their local community. So we'd love to see you there as well, and I'll share the link with that in our follow-up email, just with the recording and the presentation from Matt as well. So yeah, Matt, really big thank you for the presentation. I hope everyone found this really, really useful. I think that's everything from us. If anyone has any questions about Voluntero itself, the volunteer management software that Matt has mentioned in his presentation, which he would be using the chat feature, the reports, and kind of having that app-based approach, please get in contact with either me or Josie, and we'll show you around in there and answer any questions. Thank you for all the lovely